And I mean, as a practical matter, I called you a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, I've got a friend who wants to grow his business from, whatever, a million a month to 10 million a month. And he's got all the things in place to do it, but he just needs a good payments relationship. Yeah. And I had told him, you got to talk to my friend, Patricia. That doesn't happen if you're pawning me off.
Right.
Of course. You don't have people bringing you $100 million a year accounts if
Correct.
You've gotten them used to being pawned off.
Yep. That's true. And you have to treat, and this is something for everybody, is that I don't care. Like, I know I'll get messages all the time. Hey, do you have somebody else, Patricia, that they could speak to? They're only doing $2,000 a month, right? They'll say, I don't want to bother you with that. And I'm like, do you know that 90% of my business has come from $2,000 a month accounts that ended up saying, oh, I'm in a $2,000 a month account, but my brother owns 500 Wendy's, or they own, a $30 million a month MLM account. Never, ever. I will get on any call. I don't care if they do $5 a month. I don't care if they're starting up. I don't care what it is. I get on that phone. So, and I think everyone should be that way in every business.
Yeah, it's, and it's funny. I've had to wrestle with this too, because my business is so based around internet visibility. Like my business literally directly correlates to visibility, probably even more than yours. Cause it's like, if I have 1 million impressions a week, great. Now I need 2 million. Now, you know what I mean? So I do hit those logjam points where like I have to put up, interface points. But what I would encourage for anybody listening to this is like, don't decide that you're at the point where you want to distance yourself from your potential revenue. The market will decide for you when you are physically too exhausted, too overscheduled, to where you're actually hurting yourself because your response time is like, man, they texted me and I keep telling myself to get back to them, and it's been 9 days and I haven't been able to, even though you're working 16 hours a day. When you're at that point, okay, great. Have your assistant respond for you, but don't just decide.
Yeah.
Oh, I just decided today that my time is worth more than that. Bullshit. The market hasn't decided yet, so your decision doesn't matter.
Exactly. 100%.
So I got to ask another question, because, and again, I'm imposing some assumptions because of my history in the payments industry, but like, I'll be really surprised if I'm not spot on with this one. You must have had some interesting, challenging aspects to your career because of being a woman in payments and banking.
Yes.
Is that right? Because like I've been around this industry, and it's a heavily male dominated space, right?
Yep.
And they're not like super open-minded progressive men either.
Right.
Right? Now. Okay. So tell me about that. What's that been like?
So my mom, I think we've talked about this. So my mom, long story short, she was orphaned at 10 years old. Her mom died. Her father shipped her off to boarding school. When she was 10, she came to New York. Long story short, she put herself through college. My mom's a beautiful woman, number one. So growing up, I mean, she walked into a room, she turned heads. That's the way it was. It wasn't the kind of bimbo-y type. It was more like just beautiful.
Right.
And she worked in corporate America her whole life. And one thing that my mom taught me from the time I was very, very, very little is when you walk into a room, you have to lead. Number one, don't think of yourself like, I'm doing this and because I'm a woman or this. She never let me use being a woman as a crutch ever. Like that vocabulary was not allowed. When you go into that room and you're working with men, or when I walk into any kind of meeting, the first thing she taught me is you lead with that brain and the rest will help you. But it regardless, it helps you because it just does. But you lead with the brain, you lead with your humor, and you make sure you're packed with ammo to be able to back it up, right? So for me, I think a lot of the things that I would face, and I could actually talk about it now because of I think they're bankrupt. Well, they're definitely bankrupt. So I had worked for this company, and there was this young CEO. So this is, it was a it was a biometrics company when I had transferred out of iBill, and the company had actually gotten acquired. And this guy, he was the CEO. It was, I think the company was like, he had raised something like $300, $400 million. His ammo was basically offering stock to the girls that he would sleep with, right? The marketing girls. For me, I thought that I had a lot to offer in terms of what I could bring to this as payments technology from my space. So, to make a long story short, we were in Las Vegas, and I had been waiting. I had put together an entire presentation, and he tried to come up to my room all coked out and tried to basically say that he wanted to hear my presentation.
Right.
He could hear it. And, I ended up not letting him obviously come up to my room. And, I went back to him. I said, well, are you still going to listen to my presentation I did? Am I going to get the stock? Because I got so much less stock than everybody else. And basically got told no, like that it wasn't going to happen. He wasn't interested in it. 3 months later, the whole company went under because he had been doing cocaine with these executives and blew through all the money. But, that was really the only time. And there's another point to this too, is that, when I used to go to all these shows, and we talk about like Affiliate Summit and all these shows, right?
Right.
And I was in a very weird position being a woman, the fact that I would have competition there, right? Obviously competitors.
Right.
And I'd have my merchants, and these merchants would say, oh, we're going to the strip club. Come on, Patricia, come with me. And I'd go, guys, I'm the one managing your money, and I'm in my 20s. So I could have gone out there and I could have partied and I could have done all this stuff. And instead I'm like, you know what, guys? Don't you want me to be the responsible one? I'm the one handling your merchant account stuff. And I really had to make those very active choices to go to my hotel room and not go out to party with them. And I sat there going, I'm going to lose him because they're going out with XYZ right now. And he's getting them high, and he's going here, and he's buying them to all the strippers, and he's doing this. And did you know I never, ever lost one single merchant, because they would always tell me that at the end of the day, they're happy I went back. Like, I'm managing their money for them. So, it was always an interesting space to navigate, but I think I didn't have trouble because I've never put that label on me of being anything different than what I am. I'm a payments expert. So it didn't matter if I was a guy, it didn't matter if I was a girl. I didn't have to act a certain way to win business ever, which was great. And I think it came natural because I was able to back it up.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I could never empathize or speak to the experience of being a female in business. I can say my mom was an attorney. She was a partner at a Big Five law firm. I mean, she's a very successful, high-powered attorney. She was the first female partner in that firm.
Wow.
And so I hear a lot. I mean, that was corporate law. They weren't like, well, maybe they were. I don't know. I was a kid. Maybe they were going to strip clubs and doing coke and whatever. But I was never exposed to that. But she certainly would have been the same one to be like, guys, I'm staying home.
Right.
But I remember her. The bottom line is she was just smart. Like, yeah. She was, I think, first or second in her class of law school. But I mean, she did. And she had me 3 months before she took the bar. And she was pregnant her whole senior year of law school. But she just was like, she had the same attitude that, like, you just have to honestly you have to be at least as good, and it's not fair, but you might even have to be better.
Yeah, it's true though.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think a lot of people say that's not fair. Well, I think that the whole concept of fair is a big waste of time.
Yep.
Because that's like hating mountains because the world's not flat. It just isn't flat. Climb the damn mountain. Yeah. It's not going anywhere. And use it. Be better. If that's the challenge, do it. Right? I'll be honest. I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish by origin, by ethnicity, by heritage. I have a Jewish last name. To be honest, I try to make sure I'm a little extra generous sometimes.
It's true.
And I don't come off stingy. And maybe that's politically incorrect to say, but it's like, okay, so if I have a little bit of a thing about, well, maybe I should just be a little extra generous, that's not like such a freaking terrible thing.
That's not. You're
Right.
just doing, my mom's Spanish, my dad was Jewish, right? So, I have a whole other, things to say about that too. But I think, you can, just like with being a woman, if I have to work a little bit harder and funny enough, like I'll talk to Dave about it sometimes, like when I used to go to these corporate retreats or corporate events and stuff, right? They would always schedule me with the wives at the spas instead of with them at the golf, So, because at that point I didn't play golf, but it would be like we'd get to the hotel and I'm ready for all the meetings and all this stuff, and then I'd look at the itinerary and the tea times, and it was like these were my bosses that I was really trying to impress. Like this was an opportunity to be with the executive from San Francisco and all this stuff, and I'm with his wife and the other one's girlfriend at the spa, and I'm not on the tee sheet to play. And I'm like, it was those things where you just feel like you're gonna, like, FOMO, the fear of missing out. Like I thought that, and now looking back on it, it really had zero impact on how far I got ahead. Just because I wasn't at that, it meant absolutely nothing that I wasn't at that golf game.
Yeah. And I can see that. I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, it's payments. It's a quantitative business. Right. It's a quantitative business with a qualitative aspect of maturity, trust, stability, integrity. So like, as long as you're demonstrating intellectual competence and all those intangibles that make people feel safe,
right,
that's way better than being the life of the party.
Right. And also not being judgmental or stuffy. Like, when somebody sits there and says, hey, I'm doing this, biz op, you don't want to act like you're or dating was, you don't want to act like you're the stuffy underwriter in the room either. Right. So right. I think it's one of those things. Like I grew up with all brothers, right? So I grew up with a house full of all boys. And I think that really helped as well. So you could kind of you kind of play both ends. You know what I mean? I could have the conversations with everybody else, but I don't have to act this way. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like I was able to be a chameleon and fit into everywhere.
Yeah, you said that term chameleon. I was literally thinking that word, especially, I think about your business. I mean, you deal with internet marketers, which, I mean, I've been to Affiliate Summit. They can be everything from like buttoned up, Amish almost, to like the most insane rock star debaucherous lunatics. And sometimes they're successful when they're 60, sometimes they're successful when they're 19.
Yeah.
And then you deal with CBD, which, the cannabis space, even adult. I mean, you've dealt with adult dating sites. You also deal with, like you say, a Wendy's franchisee with 500 units. I know you have a large grocery store chain in your portfolio. Like that chameleon-like ability that doesn't strike me based on what I know about you. It's like, you're never putting on an act.
No.
You're just not putting on pretense.
Right. And no fluff. There's no, I think people are just so tired of the fluff, like here you're saying what you want them to hear. I'm going to lay it out as factual information. This is what you have. This is what you need. And I'm going to show you how to get there in these steps. And I think that's why people, value me for that, is because do I want the business? Yes. But am I going to sit here and do a whole tap dance and song and dance to win it from you? No, I know I could help them. And if I can't, I'm the first person to tell somebody. I did it today. I knew this woman was better off sticking with Stripe. I know that it was just going to be easier for her with everything she's going through right now. I guarantee you 9 out of 10 other people would have done everything to get her to complete that merchant account because they wanted that business, and I think when we got off the phone, she texted me a message and she goes, I just want you to know I really appreciate your honesty. She's like, you know, you didn't try to sell me. She's like, I hope I could stay in touch. Can I leverage you for some, you know, one-on-one? She wanted to do one-on-one coaching with me because she's launching this. She's a hypnosis therapist, but for weight loss. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, you should do it on Facebook and do go live and all this stuff. And then she's like, but I can't believe you didn't want to switch my merchant account. But I knew she just went through a divorce, and I knew that she just had this, and I knew it was going to hurt her credit if we pulled it again, and she's trying to get a house. So, you know what I mean? It's those kind of things. Like, you just have to be a human at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's totally consistent with my experience of you. So I hope everybody's heard in this. And I just want to say, I want to acknowledge you, like, whatever your circumstances were. And I do, you know, I'm trying to picture you back at what was it called? Internet Billing Corp or whatever. One of a couple hundred of these agents and these reps. And I mean, I've got to assume, you know, in terms of just business trajectory and career growth, you're, you know, probably one of the top handful, 2, 3, maybe number one of all the people that came out of that.
In that, I'd probably say out of all the sales reps that have done that, I mean, maybe there's a few that would disagree because we're still all friends, but I say as a whole, I could say that I'm definitely number one in this space.
So, you know, and I acknowledge you as a woman and as just a human. I mean, for doing that. So we talked a little bit about the economics of payments. And you've got a project you're working on right now that's designed to sort of empower people who maybe are, you know, don't know, may not even know the first thing about what we're talking about, to benefit from an experience and possibly even pivot their whole life with the power of payments, right? Is that something you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I'll touch on it. For the last 15 years, I have literally, and along with Dave, handpicked, and Dave's my husband, we have literally handpicked people who have never had an ounce of training. So the big joke everyone has is, you know, people see us on Instagram, they'll see us golfing all the time, they'll see us snowboarding, they'll see us here, dog sledding, doing all these things. And one of the big things we always get asked is, God, do you guys ever work? Like, you know, if people ask us if we're trust fund, or you must have trust funds, because, you know, we shouldn't be out there at, you know, 11 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday golfing. And when we tell people about the business, it is like this immediate light goes on. And I'm like, well, to simplify it, every time a transaction is swiped, someone's getting paid. And that person is someone like me. And they're like, but I thought it was Visa and MasterCard. I'm like, it is Visa and MasterCard, but there's someone like me in between there that gets paid. And they go, so, well, how would I do? You know, because I know someone who owns, and it is like this immediate thing where they go, well, I know somebody who owns a business. I own somebody who owns a business. And all of a sudden, you know, over all these years, I've literally taken people, and Dave has taken people, you know, we have a golf caddy. He was our golf caddy. And we taught him from the ground up how to be in payments. And we have a proven track record where everyday people who have never done it, our wedding planner, she wanted it, like one of our friends who's a wedding planner, her name's Erica. She was like, well, what is it that you do again? You know, everyone always wants to know. And she's like, well, why don't I move my wedding planning business? And then once she did that, she's like, well, you know, I know all these vendors and I love it because I'm going to be saving them money. I'm like, that's the point. You're actually saving somebody money. So you're saving people money. You're providing a service. You're making a living. And it could be one time if you feel like doing one merchant account, if you feel like doing it when you're 80 years old and you're on the golf course. So what we did was we said, why don't we create a training platform called Payments Authority? And because again, it comes back what we talked about, bandwidth, right? I would love to talk to every single person and teach it. But there's so many people who have asked us that we said, let's put this into a full course beginning to end and let people go through the stages similar to being a real estate agent, except, you know, you're going to learn payments. It's transferable to anywhere in the world. So it's not like you have to go state to state and register. If you know a friend in Sweden that needs a merchant account and they have a business, you could provide them with a merchant account. Right. So it doesn't matter. It transcends. If you have, and Jeff, we talk about your kids, right? The greatest thing, and don't get any ideas with this, but let's say getting your son into payments, right? If your son decided, hey, why don't you give him your first business? Let him start making money off of your account, right?
Right.
That's his first account in payments. All of a sudden now he comes under my wing and I'm teaching your son how to be successful and how to become a digital payments expert. And immediately right there, you've already set him on his path to earning residual income for the rest of his life. So, and that's why I say, don't get any ideas here. It is a real business. It is something that anybody can learn. You don't need sales because everybody knows someone who owns a business. And you could use it as something you do once every month. You can dedicate, like, Eric, the golf caddy, he now does it full time. This is his he loves it so much. He has 3 kids. He's not doing caddying anymore. He is making, within the last year and a half, he is making a very, very good living now. And he loves it. He's addicted to it. Now he's getting into high risk. So, he's taking the high risk mastery and all this stuff. But if you love something like how much that I have loved payments, imagine now we're going to be able to teach thousands, tens of thousands of people across the world how to do exactly what we're doing. Like it's incredible. So it's exciting. It's like, it's a pivot for me, but we're not just coaching people on something that we did 10 years ago. We're in the trenches with them, which is fun, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I do the same thing, with all the digital marketing stuff I do. It's like, I didn't retire and then go, oh, let me create a course.
Right.
In fact, by training, what I found is I actually put more pressure on myself to be even better at it so that I can feel more credible and not at all hypocritical. Because the tendency is, once you start selling training on a thing, to be like, oh, well, I'll just make money selling the training on the thing and I won't do the thing.
Right.
Frankly, that's what most gurus or authorities end up doing with anything. Yeah. And I think it's cool that you don't do that. And frankly, I'm not going to let you quit doing payments anytime soon. I'm scaling my business too. But no, I think that's super cool. And listen, I mean, people have listened to my show. I think you're going to end up probably being episode, 30, 35 when it comes. You could go listen to every single episode. This may be the only time I've ever actually, with a person on the show, talked about an active thing that people could do right now to like get into a business, frankly, other than my business. Right. Because I have a very pure relationship with my audience, and like, I don't bring them stuff. But like I said, I mean, I said this as an honest statement. If I couldn't do what I do for some reason, if all these internet business models were revoked from my life, I mean, I don't know there's anything that would have more of a draw for me than payments. Yeah. Because it's like you say, I mean, I as an affiliate marketer, whether it's affiliate, whether it's e-com, when I used to have my agency, they were always business models that were based around being a middleman on large volumes of transactions that are going to happen with or without me. Yep. So why not be the one getting paid? Correct. Those are the best business. That's why there's such a value. And you can always tell the value of a cash flow business based on A, whether or not someone else would buy that cash flow, and B, how much they would pay. Yep. And like if you're a money manager, for example, you may have $1 billion in assets under management. That doesn't make you a billionaire. You're earning 0.15% of assets under management per quarter or whatever. But then you say, hey, I want to sell that book of business like to, Fidelity or Charles Schwab or something. There's a huge value placed on that cash flow that's potentially dozens or even hundreds of times the monthly value of the cash flow itself. Yeah. That tells you that it's a valuable business. And payments has if somebody built a book of payments business, let's say hypothetically they didn't want it anymore. Maybe they needed cash because they wanted to, pay off their parents' house or something. They can sell it, right? All day long. You're able to sell, and it's actually a huge business selling off your portfolio. You have large processors that want to kind of buy up these portfolios, especially of low risk. So a lot of these low risk type of agents that have, maybe 100 swipe businesses,
those are all low risk transactions. So that's very, very valuable to an ISO who's trying to keep a balanced portfolio.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're able to sell it. I mean, and I think what is great about payments, and I could go on forever, is the fact that it literally can happen to you even when you least expect it. So I'll use the golf course analogy, right? And it doesn't matter how rich somebody is either. We have talked to people who are as rich as could be, and the second and they're retired, and they're like, well, you know what? I just want to pay for my kid's private school. I want to make $200,000 to pay for my tax bill for my house on the ocean. When they hear about it, and like they know, like one guy we're golfing with, and he said, funny enough, I know, and I won't name the name because it would give it away, but the largest moving truck company, one of the largest moving truck companies in the world is my best friend. And what if we move their processing over? I'm like, you'd pay your house bill,
Right.
So it is something, and it could happen when you're 60 years old. It could happen when you're 70 years old. I mean, it's a business that is really interesting to everybody. And you don't have to use it as your full-time thing. It could be literally like anything else. It could be a part-time thing when you hear somebody say, oh, I have a business. Oh, by the way, who do you use?
Well, and there is one caveat, is that it's only relevant to businesses that transact in money.
Yep, correct.
That was a joke.
Yeah.
Which is like every business.
I'm like, okay, are we talking about crypto right now? Are we?
Yeah, I guess actually nowadays, yeah, there are exceptions to that, right? But no, yeah, it's a crazy cool business. So, okay, here's what I'm going to suggest, because I know we both have appointments we have to get to, and we talk all the time, so it's not like a sad goodbye here. But so we've put a page together on our millionairesecrets.com domain. So it's millionairesecrets.com/Patricia, Patricia, which I've never seen Patricia spelled any other way, but I won't assume that everybody knows that. And we'll put that link in the description wherever this appears. But I would like to get a link from you of how people can learn more about Payments Authority.
For sure.
And again, I don't do this with most of my guests because it's like, yeah, I mean, there's just only, everybody's got a thing. I mean, and I always want them to promote their thing, but as far as like a way to make money, that's something I naturally am pretty wary about, but like, this is legit. I know enough about it. So I'll get that link from you. We'll put it at millionairesecrets.com/Patricia. As far as just following you and Dave and getting to know you better, where would they go for that? And we'll put those links on the page too. But
sure. So the best way to find us on Instagram is Meet the Carlins. So Patricia and Dave Carlin, but it's Meet the Carlins. It's pretty, you could see all of our life. On LinkedIn, it's Patricia Carlin. That's really where I do a lot of stuff. But Meet the Carlins on LinkedIn, or Meet the Carlins on Instagram, literally gives you links to everything, and you get to really be part of our life there. We let you in, we mix it up with good stuff, and hopefully we'll see you in Park City.
Yeah, and you get to see the view out those windows, the insane view at their house.
It is behind there. It is ridiculous. It's like
I'm excited. I'm going to be up there next month.
Yep, can't wait.
Okay, awesome. Well, Patricia, this has been a blast. Thank you for just being you and giving amazing value and authenticity to the Millionaire Secrets audience. Any last words?
No, I absolutely loved it. I will say this, that I have declined a lot of podcasts in my entire life, just because I don't know. It just, number one, I'm shy, which you wouldn't know that, but anything that you've done, for me, it just always has what we talk about with authenticity and real value. And for me to put, my name on something is, I've always been my brand. So, when you asked me, it was an absolute no-brainer.
Well, I appreciate that. It means a lot, really. And I know that you honestly, you took that you went to bat for me in that same way when I was in a hard to really describe. What industry is Jeff in? Like there's not really a category for what I do. And you had to go to bat to explain, like, listen, at the end of the day, whatever this guy's business in, he is a good, solid person. And that counts for something in when dealing with money. Right.
Yeah, it does.
So I appreciate that. And I was really glad that you said yes. And again, I'm excited everybody got to hear from you. I'll get those links and we'll share more about payments with the world.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Talk to you soon. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for being here, Patricia. Take care.
Bye, Jeff. Bye.
Thank you for watching Millionaire Secrets. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and leave us a comment below. And don't forget, Millionaire Secrets is available on all the major podcast platforms as well. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you can listen on the go. Thanks for watching.